Thursday, we bring all the researchers together, just the researchers, nobody else, for a half-day closed session where we do some brainstorming together. We work through a number of exercises to help us all start thinking in some common terms and identifying themes across our projects. That activity is going to be led by Ivan and Smokey, the two IMTFI postdoctoral researchers. And Ivan's right back there. Can you just wave? I don't know where Smokey is. I don't see her, but she'll be somewhere. They'll be leading that tomorrow. And in the past, we've held these things on campus. And the complaint that we've always received is that that means that, you know, our poor IMTFI researchers are always trapped inside buildings for 3 hours straight in beautiful, sunny Southern California. So this year, we're actually going to take you to the beach, and we're going to do it like on the beach, okay? So in a building, and then the beach is there, and then you can go outside and explore the beach. So don't get too excited, and hopefully the weather will hold for us. And we'll be giving you more information about this later on today. We have a piece of paper that has the kind of format and thing for you to take a look at. But basically, there'll be rides leaving from your hotel tomorrow at 8:30 to take you down to Balboa, where we'll be at the beach for this activity. And then you'll have some time in the afternoon to explore down there and, I don't know, go sunbathing or something if there's sun. So without any further ado, let's get started on our next panel. I'm very pleased that we have Jan Chipchase here with us. Jan is the Executive Director of Global Insights at Frog Design, and he has been associated with IMTFI pretty much since the very beginning when he was a researcher at Nokia. Jan's kind of perspective and insight on taking the kinds of learnings and empirical material that bubble up out of IMTFI into the design space have been absolutely invaluable for us as we think about taking this kind of work and reaching different constituencies. Because I think one thing that we're all seeing is the way that the work that we produce here is speaking, you know, very much speaking across a whole bunch of different groups that we interface with, from the IT sector to design to the development and philanthropic community and to academia. So we've got Jan here today kind of from the design side on a panel about things like risk and fraud and gambling and stuff. So I'll turn it over to Jan and the panel. Thanks.
Thank you, Bruno. Can you turn the mic on? Is that okay? So hi, it's great to be here. There's very few panels that you can walk into and 1 hour later you can figure out how to make a lot of money. But this is one of those panels. So I want you to pay careful attention because we have, I think, a really stellar lineup. I'm super proud to be sitting up here with you guys. We have a paper on gambling through mobiles. We have a paper on insurance. And lastly on, and perhaps my favorite, well, let's see, is ATM fraud. And anyway, with that, I'd like to hand over to Bruno and Kizito for the first paper. Gambling and mobile phone payments, mobile money payments, a case for study for sports betting in Uganda. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Would like also to join other researchers in thanking IMTFI in bringing us here to make our preliminary finding presentations. Now, as indicated, the topic is gambling and mobile money payments, case study of sports betting in Uganda. And well, well, what we set out to investigate is basically to find the place of mobile money payments in the whole context of sports betting. Now, what we've so far done, we've held interviews with operators of betting shops, gamblers, community leaders, and regulators. We've administered fan rate questionnaires, but also observed business on the floor of the betting shops. We've reviewed newspapers as well as stories on sports betting within the news that has been published. So that picture is one of those showing the youth trying to place a bet in one of the betting shops. As you may notice, it is generally male intensive. I don't know whether the appetite for risk is higher for the males. We shall find that out. But then, what have we so far been able to find out is that a quarter of the available betting shops in the country are licensed. Now, that has implications of the fallback position of those who, in a way, get into trouble with betting. The mobile money payment platform is being used by some gamblers, and this is basically to ensure 24-hour betting opportunities, especially for the working class. We also found out that it is a popular activity which is undertaken by persons from all socioeconomic groups. Now, betting knows no boundaries, whether you are poor, whether you are rich, whether you're educated, whether you're not educated. So everybody is trying to strike it rich, but you might say in the process, we are trying to battle with the question whether it is value creation or value destruction or a combination of the two. Of all the shops that offer betting facilities, we have 6 which have online betting facility. We don't have to name them. And under this, then you can place a bet and receive payments using the mobile money payment platform. And I think this basically helps those who are afraid of going to the shop, so you can do your betting from wherever you might want to do it. But more importantly, we noted that the most popular sport for betting is football, for which people place their bets. So that's another picture showing match fixtures and trying to place a bet. But the downside that is coming out of this is that the young have also tried to strike it rich before their time, and some have missed graduation simply because they did bet their tuition monies. This is a repeat of what we've indicated earlier on, that majority of the gamblers are male youth. We go further to note that in some cases, some gamblers have been impoverished to the extent of borrowing to bet, and in worse cases, they've disposed of their assets to get into this whole game. But still, it's quite puzzling to note that the youth who, on the one hand, are unemployed are the majority into this trade. And as a result, betting is fueling a number of other vices, namely the use of diversion of tuition fees for betting, theft, cheating, and so on. But also we note that the Premier League, English Premier League, is the most popular of all soccer or football leagues that gamblers place a bet on. Now, as a result of sports betting, there is a language that is also coming up, just like with mobile money payment platform. The language keeps changing also. There is what is called float. Now, float being the money that you deposit onto your phone account. Now, in the language of betting, then, the following terms will always be heard. You can have an over, which means that the team that you place a bet on winning at least 2 goals without conceding any goal. It could be an under where the team scores 1 goal but does not concede any goal. It could be a handicap, which means a draw. Or it could be an odd, which means the factor by which the amount of a bet is multiplied depending on your choices from A to C. But then you also have a bonus, which refers to an additional amount to win depending upon the number of games on which a bet is placed. Now, somebody will ask, what's the lowest amount you need to place a bet? Now, you need 1,000 Uganda shillings, which is approximately $50 to place a bet, and you can place as many bets as you might wish. For noting is also that there is no comprehensive regulatory framework to protect the underage and vulnerable individuals. So far, the regulatory environment is not that comprehensive. The framework is also not good enough to ensure that the games are fair. Issues of law enforcement and any limitations of the activity. The other thing that is missed out by the environment is that the underage and problem gambling now. I think where we are headed, if you're talking about say 10 to 15 years, then we shall have problem gambling as a real issue, but starting with sports betting. So that's one of the signs representing a betting shop. And these are spread all over both Kampala main as well as the peri-urban areas. So you'll still find the youth trying to place a bet and looking at the match fixtures. Reflecting upon what we've so far done, for noting is that we've been able to make use of existing information in newspapers, newscasts. The questionnaire worked, but we shall see what didn't work out well. We've had interviews with some gamblers and regulators. Some pitfalls. Now, we try to look at gambling within its bigger picture, not necessarily fixing ourselves to gambling via the phone, but rather look at it within a broader picture. There are other questions that we thought would build on gambling. So sensitive questions relating to the use of illicit drugs among gamblers are answered in a cautious manner. But then photographing the gamblers is also something that is not so liked. The other questions relating to the turnover of the betting shops are also that sensitive, now which partly feeds into the lack of a comprehensive regulatory framework. Of course, they're trying to come up with a law that will require betting shops to have a minimum amount of money before they can open their doors to bettors. Going forward, we shall complete the remaining procedures and analyze and submit for review. Now, there are a number of questions that we've been able to pose as a result of what we found, namely that why is it that the majority of the betting shops are not licensed? So it is something illegal but which is embraced by majority of society. We are also not aware whether the gamblers are aware of the addictive nature of betting. We are also not aware whether there are any linkages between youth poverty and betting. The other question that stems from the lack of a comprehensive regulatory framework is whether there are mechanisms for redress for gamblers who do not get paid by some betting shops. It's a case of fraud. But then we also ask ourselves whether betting is the last resort for the unemployed youth. Of course, the other question that comes to mind is what's the effect of betting on work ethics, meaning that if people can earn money or make money without working by only placing bets, then what does it impact? How does it impact on the work ethics? We also have other questions, namely that what's the effect of betting on the welfare of the losers as well as gainers? And what's the likely effect of betting on the mental health of the gamblers? So we thank you for your kind attention.
Okay, next up we have Nelson and Cyrus, who will be taking us through the challenges facing the uptake of M-insurance loyalty-based life insurance schemes, a case study of yuCover Microinsurance in Kenya. Take it away, guys.
Okay, thank you. Thank you to IMTFI for hosting us here. Now, I'm going to talk about the challenges facing the uptake of M-insurance. a case study of the yuCover loyalty insurance scheme. Now, yuCover, you find that before I highlight about yuCover, let's have a look at the percentage market share of the various mobile operators in Kenya. You can see Safaricom, as usual, is always has the lion's share at 64%, followed by Airtel, Orange, and finally ESA, which in Kenya trades under the yuMobile name. Those are the statistics as of the fourth quarter of 2011-2012. We'll start by defining microinsurance. Microinsurance mainly is the protection of low-income people. That is, those who are living between approximately $1 and $4 per day against specific perils in exchange for the regular premium payment. So, in order for the poor to have access to microinsurance, there are three distinctive roles that need to be performed: carrying the risk, front office service, and the back office service. In carrying the risk, existing insurance companies are the ones which are better placed to carry the risk because of their experience, which has helped them understand that in some instances, clients are better served through the use of the existing companies, and in the extreme end, reinsurance. Front office stroke sales, this is looking for partners who have a strong brand which the poor people can trust, and also to make it accessible to the poor people. The third one, the back office service. Now, this is the intermediary between the front office and whoever is going to carry the risk. Okay. A brief history of you, or a brief background of yuMobile, which is also known as ESA Telecom, but in Kenya it trades under the name of yuMobile. It was launched in December 2008, and one unique thing about it was that it was the fastest network rollout speed, meaning that in 10 months, it already had countrywide coverage as compared to the other operators which were there before. Currently, it's estimated to have a base customer of 3 million subscribers. So, yuMobile partnered with Jubilee Insurance to launch yuCover. If you look at the photo there, we've talked about those three roles which have to be performed. For the back office service, microinsurer comes in. For the front office, yuMobile. And for carrying the risk, that's where Jubilee comes in. How does yuCover work? For you to enroll, it's a USSD service. You have to dial *555# from your mobile phone. And you'll follow the steps as will be guided through the USSD service. So the thing about it is only available to prepaid subscribers of the network, and all claims will be made by the Jubilee Insurance Company Limited. So what are the payout rates? For every $1.16 to $2.88 which you spend in a month in form of airtime top-up, in case of disability or life or death or what, you're going to get a $115.73 payout. Those are the rates. As the more you spend, the more the payout in the service. Methodology. How did we access our respondents? Mostly due to the scarcity of yuMobile subscribers, snowball sampling came in handy. since their availability due to their market share was somehow scarce. So snowballing sampling, it really was the technique that we really applied here, and one-on-one interviews, also field notes. That was our research assistant doing the data collection. For the second part of the presentation, I'd like to invite my colleague to take us through the preliminary findings. Thank you.
So my name is Nelson Karani. I'll take you through the results, and I'll be brief. Sorry. So we have we found out we have 7 challenges. We have 7 challenges so far. The first one being the belief and culture. That is, okay, in the African settings, somehow, we have the wrong notion and normal belief that insurance is meant for old men and motor vehicle owners. That is, okay, motor vehicle owners are, they are the only ones who take insurance normally. When it comes to life insurance, people are not interested. Even I myself, I'm not interested. Okay, sometimes, okay, I have not taken it. Even the yuCover thing, I have not taken it. Though it's for free, you know? It's like you top up, you get the premium. But me, I've not taken it. Then the gender affair, this gender thing comes in, where female respondents, most of them have no knowledge or little knowledge about insurance. This one comes hand in hand with the first point, that is the belief that the insurance is for old men. So this one comes hand in with this one. Next, we have the age factor, whereby most of the users of this mobile product, they are youth. So they use this mobile for SMSs, free calls, because we have free calls sometimes during the day and night. Then we have the bundles, internet bundles. So most youths use this mobile product for chatting, sending SMSs, and internet bundles. But when it comes to money transfer, they have another line. That is the Safaricom line, which we use for M-Pesa. So they don't use Airtel and Orange or this use something, because all those companies, they have those products, the mobile something. Next we have poor marketing / research. That is, if you look at, okay, what we did, we compared the three mobile companies. That is, we started with Safaricom. If you look at the home page, you'll see on the left side we have M-Pesa, their products. That is, we have M-Pesa, we have internet, Bonga, prepaid, like that. Next, you look at Airtel. You'll see they have top up, we have internet, Airtel money, promotions, devices, and all that in their home page. Next, when you come to you, look at you. We have this is the home page. You'll see we have buy 200 MB, get 200 MB free, double the fun, and all this. If you look at it, it's like they're promoting the bundles and not the product, because the yuCover product is the latest, and it was launched last year. So if you look at it, it's not highlighted. So next, we have the awareness. Here we have our assistant who has gone to this slum area where we have this guy who makes sandals out of used tires. So like the guy is like he has two lines, one for Safaricom, one for you. For you, he uses a line for SMSs and calling. That is it. Then he uses the other one for M-Pesa. Like the yuCover product is like a miracle. It's like a shock. Yeah. Next, we have the delay or non-payment of claims. If you look at this guy, he got an accident in 2007 after the post-election violence. Then, since then, he has been following his claims. Like he has not gotten the payment. So like he's skeptical. It's like, how will I get paid? Because the other one, you have to, the premium, you have to pay. But this one is for free, It's like, where will they get money to pay me if the other side, they cannot pay me? Next, we have the market acceptance. If you look at it, if you look at the chart, we saw Safaricom is more preferred than these other networks. So like, even if they launch a new product, even if it's costly, it's accepted. Unlike these other products, these other networks, but Safaricom is preferred. Next, we have the competition from insurance companies, whereby we have those insurance companies employing qualified agents who out for commissions and all that. So that is it. Thank you.
Thank you. So next up, we have Tade and Tosin to talk about automatic teller machine fraud in southwest Nigeria from the perspective of a shoe wearer.
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Tosin, and since it appears fashionable to start with thanking the IMTFI, I would also like to thank the IMTFI, Bill, Jenny, for this platform. This is quite important for me personally because I'm trained as a macroeconomist, so everything in the program is about cost, prices, aggregates, and modeling and all. And it's been fun listening to things about sorcery in some parts of India, in using cartoon images to, make very good changes, and also talks about randomizations and experimental work in several parts of the world. Well, to the business of the morning, I'm going to talk briefly, myself and my colleague, about one of the maybe admittedly unintended consequences of the deployment of mobile payments or mobile payment systems, and that's on ATM fraud. In southwest Nigeria, actually our focus is on two major cities in the southwest, Lagos being the commercial capital of the country, and also Ibadan because of its huge youth population, have a number of tertiary institutions around there, and then the population is quite much also. All right. Sorry. Oh, this isn't going. All right. Just to give a sense of the motivation for the research. Okay. All right, yeah, thank you. To give a sense of the motivation for the research, Now, fraud occurs, okay, and these ATM frauds occur, but most times you kind of miss out what happens to a particular set, okay, of stakeholders in that process, and those are people who get victimized. Okay, so there's so little about victims and also about their life chances post victimization. So that's exactly the center of our research. And basically, we set out to understand one, strategies adopted by the ATM fraudsters. We also try to assess the effect of victimization on the life chances of victims, and also in another way to get a sense of how banks respond to these events or these occurrences. And to help us go through that, we have proceeded in this fashion, basically to test out a few of the theories about lifestyle patterns, okay, and other issues that can, in some cases, predispose victims to victimization. In the case where the actions of the victim actually precipitate an event such as that, or lifestyle issues, as well as routine activity. In terms of getting our hands with the work, we actually have mainly adopted the snowballing approach to this research, because you need to find a victim who then possibly links you through a story to someone else who knows someone else, and back and forth. That way we have been able to talk to about 20 ATM fraud victims, and we've also had some key informant interviews both in Lagos and in Ibadan around the central issues to our research. I would leave the details of the results and findings to Oludayo, who is a sociologist, to take us through. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, Tosin. Quickly, the results of our findings and the preliminary results indicates that yesterday while our colleagues from Nigeria and Ghana presented their results, they highlighted the issue of trust and the rest of them. But with regards to fraudsters, we discovered that the identity of the fraudsters becomes very important in order for us to know how this strategy that they adopt in victimizing a person holding these ATM cards. And we found that relatives, lovers, children, friends of card holders are actually some of the fraudsters who perpetrate this fraud. And that raises what eventually we pose as the issue of trust with regards to the issue of holding and people adopting the use of ATM as a form of payment. And then we also found that there is also the issue of knockings, the third parties who probably will clone the cards. There is also the issue of endogenous factors within the banking systems, where the staffs of the bank also reveal certain form of identities and the account details of some people to outside fraudsters will be here to victimize them. And the picture down there, which we'll further analyze later in the study. And we quickly are talking about the strategies they use. One, we realized that the perpetrators capitalized on the vulnerability factors to get the personal identification numbers on these of ATM cards from card holders. Ideally, most of our participants had about 2 to 5 different ATM cards, and so which also belongs to different kind of banks providing this kind of service in Nigeria. And it is important for us to also stress that ATM is the most popular mobile payment system in Nigeria, and so every one is into it. And maybe I should also quickly stress that the process through which you also get ATM card in Nigeria is important, because some people do not willingly want the ATM card, but through certain imposition of charges from the banks, people, because if you want to subscribe, if you want to withdraw below a certain amount, you pay extra charges if you have to do that on the counter. And so, because people want to save their money, and that also talks about the socioeconomic status of these people who are banked. And so they don't want to even part with 100 naira, which is the extra charge you have to pay if you withdraw below this certain amount. And so they opt for this card. Unfortunately, in the process of obtaining these, they are not provided with sufficient information regarding how they would protect what they are holding. And that's also would also highlight later the socioeconomic characteristics of some of these card holders. And so we found out that one of the factors is illiteracy. And when we talk about illiteracy, is that we have a large pool of ATM holders, market women, and the rest of them who also have accounts with these banks. And because of these charges, they also have to use this card. But they are not provided with this information. And so at the point of demand, the bank official, the ATM custodian, hands over the card to the woman or man who is not educated to understand how to even change the PIN and the rest of them. So the first service that is provided is usually by a security guard employed by the bank who stands beside at the ATM. And so this is a third party, is not even internal security person for the bank. And so it's an outsourced form of thing. And so this is the person that will be the first contact to the ATM card holder. In this process, this same person gets to know the personal identification number and perhaps could even advise the person to go with this kind of PIN, and so has access to the account, the amount you have there, and the rest of that. In the process, we found some respondents. For instance, in this, the case of a 70-year-old man who got this card, went outside the bank and needed to withdraw. Getting to the ATM machine, he met a young guy and then approached him. Can you please assist me in pressing some keys here? What is your PIN? And then the old man revealed this. The young guy assessed the account, realized the amount that was in the account, and realized that this man was more richer than I am. In the process, swapped the card, and the old man did not know. He left, and the guy told the man that the network was bad, and so you can't withdraw at this point in time. So the old man left. It was in the evening, and so by the time the old man gets home, only to receive alert, 20,000 naira, first withdrawal, second withdrawal, 20,000 naira, third withdrawal, 20,000 naira. And in Nigeria, you have a daily limit withdrawal of about 100,000 naira. Now, so there was nothing the old man could do, and then the following day, you get to the bank and then narrated the story. There was nothing that could be done. They realized that the old man had to present to them a different ATM card, which does not belong to him. So the issue of illiteracy and the lack of education for card holders play a major role in ATM victimization. The issue of illness, we found that a particular guy also became a victim because he was ill. And in the process of being healed, he needed to buy some drugs. And the next person beside him was a trusted ally, a friend. And he gave him his ATM card, revealing the PIN. Go get certain amount of money for me at the machines. He returned the card, but already had the idea of the PIN. At a later date, the guy got hold of the ATM card and then went away. The guy was still sleeping. When, by the time he woke up, as early as 7 a.m. in the morning, the guy was woken up by alerts. 20,000, 20,000, 20,000, 10,000 naira. The guy told me that he started sweating very early in the morning. He rushed down to the bank only for him to realize that, luckily for this kind, a particular participant, the bank was able to show the CCTV footage for this particular person, through which he was able to discover that the particular fraudster was his friend, and then some other things. And then the aged and the weak pensioners. You know, in Nigeria, when you are old and the rest of them, then they have money, your kids send money down to you, then you have domestic servants and the rest of them. And so the domestic servant, a woman gave the domestic servant, go and get a withdraw for me 20,000 naira. By the time the lady got to the ATM, she withdrew 40,000 naira and returned home only to give the woman 20,000 naira. But unfortunately for her, the woman already got the alert of 40,000 naira. And then the woman demanded, you withdrew 40,000 naira, and she denied. I did not withdraw 40,000 naira. By the time the woman said, let's go to the bank. They go to the bank, at the bank venue and the rest of them. The lady was threatening that if you are the perpetrator of these acts, you are going to be jailed and the rest of them. And lo and behold, she confessed within the banking hall, and then that was how it was discovered that. And so people could also capitalize on your age and the rest of them. Interestingly, lovers, and that brings us to the issue of trust that she raised also yesterday. How do we believe that your lover could also work against your interest when he or she knows your personal identification number? In this particular case, a particular man got hold of the PIN of the wife, and in the process withdrew 200,000 naira. And the woman could not believe her own status with the bank. She is a big business person, and so a well-known client to the bank. And so they wouldn't take that with a PIN of her. And so when she complained that something like this happened, she got to the bank and started raking, abusing them. You people are inefficient and the rest of them. But the perpetrator also went to the bank with her, and he was in particular attacking the manager and the rest of them. You people are stupid and the rest of them, saying all sorts of unprintables. But lo and behold, by the time the footage was played, they left the banking hall apologizing. And so it was the husband who actually withdrew the money. So this brings us to the issue of trust. But as time, because of the huge complaints that we have from holders of ATM cards, banks are also adopting different strategies to protect their clients. And some of these, because we now have a valve card, which is both PIN and chip based, and also becoming difficult for fraudsters to just get that or clone and the rest of them. So the new approach is to work on the routine activity of ATM holders. At what point, at what time of the day do you withdraw? Is it in the morning, in the afternoon, or in the night, where you have little security, and then somebody can come to you at gunpoint? And then we had a victim who, on a Sunday, where we normally have low traffic at the ATM gallery, and you had this group of armed robbers who stormed the venue and then demanded them to submit your ATM cards. But they didn't go there. The only lady that resisted was shot dead. And so the guy said, I would not have parted with my card, but they shot the girl who resisted and she died immediately. And because of that, she became weakened. And so it was not that they collected the ATM card alone. They confirmed the PIN, insert it, and confirmed that this is you. They didn't withdraw at that particular one, moved to another location. It was Sunday, but they didn't just go alone. They also seized all their phones so that you cannot call for anybody to block the account. And so they did the withdrawal before the next Sunday. Before Monday. On the Sunday, there is no banking in Nigeria, so you could not have stopped that. So, in sum, we are saying that fraud is influenced by the lifestyle, the routine activity, and may also sometimes be victim precipitated. And then we are saying life chances of when you save money, there is a particular purpose for which you want to use it. And so the joy of all those people who bank their monies is that at any time that I need this money, I should be able to access it. But when you introduce me to a particular payment system and it's becoming detrimental, quote and unquote, to my life chances. And for life chances, we mean that an individual should be able to pursue and actualize his own life goals. And so, through this particular process, when an individual, for instance, a student became a victim, and for a student, what do you need money for? Survival on campus. And when that happened, it leads to psychological form in terms of concentration, and then how do you survive on campus? And this could also lead you to the development of certain form of social problems, particularly adopting coping strategies, which could also lead you to deviant behavior. And we also found out that this could also lead to business collapse. We had a victim who targeted around this time is December, and so it's business period, and people save for this time and then they go to make their business so that they would make huge sales. And it was at this particular time in the year that she became a victim. And so for that particular time, she lost everything she had invested from January to November through the ATM fraud. And because of that, we also had another victim who was saving. He was saving to move from the house which he was living with his parents and is working, and wanted to move away so that he could begin his own life and then marry. And lo and behold, 200,000 naira that he saved to rent a house got taken away by ATM fraudsters. And so we say it also creates financial insecurity among the unemployed. We had about 5 of the victims who just finished their national youth service, and they saved a little out of this because we have high rate of unemployment within the country. And so what could have sustained them post service year in their first 3 months went away with ATM fraud. And so we are saying that whether you become a victim or not is also a function of your age, the sex, the status, and then the support network that you have within the family. So if you are a student, where do you derive support when you fall victim of this ATM? If you are a female, you become more susceptible because if you are not from a wealthy home, it means that you need help from elsewhere. And that could predispose that particular person to all sorts of deviant behavior or creates more problem. And then we also realize that because when we asked them, how did you feel when this happened? And some said, I felt everything, the life was over. That it took me almost 6 months to get over this. And for some who are from wealthy homes with strong support system, immediately the thing happened, several people sent money to them, and then they were back on course. But for others, it was not like that. And so the socioeconomic status of victims also becomes important when analyzing the effects of this. It creates psychological trauma and then deepens hopelessness. And more importantly, we also try to look at the way banks characterize the fraud in such a way that when you become victim and then you visit your bank, what happens? What do they do? And what the ATM custodians told us is that most of them blames it on the victim. It is victim precipitated. You did not protect your PIN, you did not do this, you were careless with it. How could you have revealed it to your wife? How could you have released this to your husband? And it raises so many things within our cultural environment with regards to what you keep away from your wife, with regards to what you keep away from your son, and the rest of them, particularly when it relates to this. And then rather than accepting the blame, they use techniques of neutralization by shifting the blame just from that particular point. And we also realize that because of the complaints that they have started receiving, they install CCTV cameras and show footages, but not in all cases, because we have more than half of the people we interviewed who said the banks could not show them the footage because it's either the camera was down at that particular point or it was blurred, and so they could not see anything. So at the end of the day, they were promising them, come today, come tomorrow, and the rest of them. And then the new card, which is Valve card, which is both PIN and chip, and then we now have something like this. This used to be at the common type of ATM you find, but because at the cubicle somebody could peep and then see what you are typing as PIN, and you find what you find on the right side as the new one that banks are now constructing, and you find something like this, that you protect yourself. It is you and you alone. That you find you lock yourself is like finding yourself in a locker. And but you see that even within the premises, you can see people still seated around here. Now you find a situation that you see this. So even when they provide this, you can still see 3 people inside the same place. In other words, these 3 people, whether they are friends, do they run the same account? Will they be using the same PIN? And so these 3 people will definitely know what the owner is doing. And so this also raises the issue of susceptibility. Now we are beginning to, and you can see perhaps husband and wife here. We are talking about new questions arising. And so we are asking the question, how do we then deal with the issue of trust in mobile payments technology? We are saying, does victimization enhance knowledge of mobile payment system? Because yes, as some of our victims said, that it was after they became victim that when they went to the bank, that was when actually the bank took time to then explain most of these things to them and the rest of them. And then how can customer peculiar demographics be used to enhance financial inclusion? And so, is it only about inclusion or taking care of the peculiarities of those who are to handle these kind of payment plans? And so, we say moving forward, we are halfway into the data. We have more victims to interview. We have booked appointment with some in Lagos and Ibadan. And then we still have a key informant. We want to probe with the security agents and see their insights into the issue and how it is treated. And we still target more 1,000 users through quantitative instruments. This is typically the situation at some point in time in the day. And so you see that most of them are still looking at us for solution to the problem created by this mobile payment system. I'm very sure that most of them would have preferred to make their withdrawal on the counter, but some of them have been forced to go through this on a daily basis. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you. There's some really fascinating research from all 3. Bruce. So before I hand over questions to the floor, I'd like to start with one, and it's a question for everyone on the panel, which is, how has the process of designing and running the study changed your own personal attitude to gambling, risk, and/or fraud? So in other words, how has exploring that topic changed your own behavior?
Okay, maybe I go first. I think personally, going through this research has kind of shaped my opinion, okay, about issues around particularly trust, okay, because I listened to several narratives, particularly the one I found fascinating was that of the husband and wife, and that kind of brought to my mind, okay, the issue of how ties and relationships are shaped by several factors, okay, both family-based factors as well as how technology also can challenge some basic foundations of the, because marriage is sacred in our parts, and husband and wife are supposed to be as open as possible to one another, but victimization still occurs, or still occurred in that case, and then that got me thinking that in deploying these technologies, it's important to look beyond maybe the potential for helping poor people, making lives more comfortable, but the implications of the kind of invisibility, if you would like, that brings, and how that challenges family relationship and social structures that we have in place.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else from the panel?
Okay. For me, I only see alterations brought into the body quality of people. I imagine that before going to field, somebody needs money from me, and then I dip my hand into the wallet and then say, take. But now, if somebody needs money, and then you say, see my wallet, you say, where is your ATM? You don't have ATM, then we can approach and so it's redefining social relationship. It's redefining social relationship as well as building or breaking some form of creating more gaps for me. Because, yeah, I can send money to another person elsewhere, but it does not bring us into contact. And that has implication for us in our culture, because you need personal contact with people, you need people that you can trust. But this is showing me that it goes beyond that. When new technologies are deployed, it brings social change into the social structure of things. Thank you.
Thank you. Insurance companies. So how has it changed your behavior, or the way you think about the world?
Okay. Before I did this proposal, actually I'm not enrolled for yuCover. I didn't even have a U line to start with. But due to the happening of things, I had to understand this better, so it meant that I had to also enroll for yuCover, so that in order to get an experience of how it felt, how the whole process went. So pretty much it changed how I view the microinsurance products. I had to embrace them.
Did it change the riskiness of your behavior, did you think?
What I can say,
I don't think it did.
And would you tell this audience if it did anyway? I mean, it's a public forum. I think we would all be very suspect about revealing exactly what risky behaviour we're engaged in. But anyway, thank you. So.
Yeah, mine is to sustain a new product, even if however good it may look like, it needs a lot. It needs a lot of market research. It needs a lot of advertisements, such that for someone to trust your product, for someone to adopt your product, you have to go for market research, and you have to look at the challenges first before you sustain it.
Okay, thank you. So over to betting.
Personally, throughout the entire process, what I've come to realize and learn more that there is no substitute for hard work. There isn't any issue of this phenomenon of getting easy rich fast. So in all the processes, if anybody wants to get these riches, he needs to work hard. Others thinking that you go to betting because you think you'll ride on luck to make a kill easily, you won't get through. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Behavior, I think, I will tell a personal experience. Now, as we embrace new technologies, we in a way increase our vulnerability. Personal experience is one. I traveled for a week to Rwanda. I'd left my ATM card with my brother. Then what happened? Somebody hacked into my email, then followed the discussion that was going on. Then what did he do? He sent an email to my brother that had, to the effect that there was somebody whom I owed money to the tune of 1.5 Uganda shillings, and I asked him to make a quick payment of 750,000 using mobile money. Now, I don't know what happened, but because if I'm in Rwanda, I'm accessible by phone, but at that time he couldn't reach me. Now, he tried to reach me, but he couldn't get through, and immediately, because of the, the credible threat that was in the writing, he went ahead and effected this payment. So, how has it changed my behavior? I think to be a little more cautious.
Okay, so in the spirit of immersive research, did you gamble? And I'll put my hand up. If I was running that study, I'd be gambling left, right, and center. So.
Tough question, but to be honest with you, we didn't gamble.
Okay, so again, in the interest of trying to understand our participants, something that fascinates me in each of these studies is your exploring topics that are taboo in some shape or form, potentially, or touching on taboo topics. And in order to get the participants' perspective and to get a true understanding of it, do we as researchers, we in the room, have an obligation to go down that route, or where's the line between what we should do and what we shouldn't do? And I'm not sure, I do want to open this up to the audience, but I can let that one lie for a bit, and then we can come back to that if it's a little quiet in the room. So why don't we open that up, Miss?
I have two comments for Nigeria. One is, it sounds to me like one of the issues with the ATM thing is a design issue. And the fact, I think one of the realities of African life in general is that people will always send other people to the ATM. And I don't think that's going to change. So what if somebody designed a multi-pin ATM card where the individual could have unlimited access to their amounts, but if they're sending somebody, then there would be a smaller limit that only the other person could use. I think it wouldn't eliminate fraud completely, but it would reduce it very significantly. And the second thing I wanted to say is that eTransact in Nigeria actually has an ATM card which has a one-time use PIN. So you can't reuse the PIN, and each time it's a randomly generated PIN. So it would be interesting to see if people have somehow found a way around eTransact cards. So that might be something you might want to check out as well.
Would you like to respond to that at all, or should we go to the next question?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. In the course of speaking with some of the victims, actually, a professor of economics became a victim, and he said, as a result of that, he told his banker, "I said, I'm done with this," and he said, "Professor, how can you back out what you preach for people to adopt and the rest of them, and then because of this?" I said, "No, so what can I do?" And then he said, currently, that whenever he uses ATM machines that is suspect to him, that he changes his PIN almost immediately. So in a month, he may change it twice, 3 times. Apart from that, he also said they have opened what he called, I think, split account or so, where it is only the amount. On the ATM card, he only has, the maximum amount is about 2,000 naira. So even if you are an armed robber and you take the thing off from him, you can't have more than 2,000. So whenever he needs money, he then at that particular point transfers from his phone that amount to the card, and then goes to the ATM card, and then does that. I think it goes beyond. It is maybe because of the status of this person that makes the banker to give him this kind of. But if this is also democratized to the level of every user, for crying out loud, I want all to be secure. Apart from saying the card is easy, it gives me easy access to my phone, and I also want security. And I think that should not be as client specific. It should be general, it should be open. So that is just the insight from the field, and people are also adopting that kind of strategy, I think so.
I think the multi-pin concept that you referred to is not something that is happening at the moment, but obviously it sounds like something that can be explored. Yeah. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Yinka from Nigeria. I want to ask Shola and Tade the question that in Nigeria as well, we have the problem of dispense errors from ATMs, which also is a form of institutional fraud, because sometimes the victims don't get their cash back. Are you looking at these cases as well, or you're just looking at the vulnerabilities by the users?
All right. So there are 2 important parts to this. What we've presented is around the victims and their life chances and others, but we have this quantitative assessment part where we deal with issues of service quality, use and non-use, and several other issues. So we actually asked those very important questions in our quantitative survey. But I think that's a very good point.
Yeah, just to add to that, what we have presented is the results of the preliminary results from the qualitative data. The other leg, which is focused on the quantitative, we have open-ended and closed-ended questions. And at the end of it, we'll also ask the participants to give us suggestions on how this could be improved. And one of the insights from that is we asked them what has been your the challenge you face using ATM, and then you find ATM dispense error, issuer inoperative, and all sorts of this. And that is what, also in the questionnaire, we have also been able to find that the participants, as a result of that, because they now face double jeopardy, you get there, you don't get your money. I've been a victim of that. I had only 20,000 naira left, and 22,000 left. I needed 20,000 naira. It was on a Sunday. I needed the money badly. And then I went to the ATM, started the card, and then no money. But before I turned, I was debited. And I could not even approach any other ATM card to use the money. So I have no money. So that happens. And that is why our participants are now saying, because of this experience, we now prefer to use the ATM machine of the bank we are holding that card, so that it is easier for us to track our fund. Because when they use the ATM of another bank, there is problem of interbank reconciliation. And so that places more burden to the customer. And these are some of the insights from the quantitative. But that's, because we said the shoe wearer's perspective, we only presented the one from the victim. Thank you.
Good question. Jake?
Hi, thanks. I had a question for actually both the fraud researchers and the insurance. So on the fraud one, I mean, the types of fraud that you guys are documenting are pretty pervasive in lots of different markets. I mean, you're documenting kind of some of the local flavor in the areas where you were doing research, but you see similar types of fraud in many other markets. And in fact, in mobile money systems as well, you have a very similar situation where you're not taking someone's card and PIN, but you're taking their phone and their PIN and finding a way to take their money. So my question was, given how pervasive this problem is in so many different markets, are you thinking about ways in which your research can inform public information campaigns or campaigns that are informing clients from, directly from the bank in terms of behaviors that clients can adopt to avoid this kind of fraud? And maybe simple messages or simple behaviors that people can adopt to avoid that. I think that'd be a really useful thing that could come out of your research. So I don't know if you're thinking about that as sort of part of the final paper, but I was just going to ask if you were. And then in terms of the insurance, if I followed you correctly, the way that the insurance works, you get a certain amount of insurance depending on how much business you're doing with the mobile operator. And so to me this seems like, okay, so you buy insurance because you want predictability, you want stability, you want to take risk out of your life. And then now you have this insurance product which comes and goes depending on how many calls you make in a month, right? So I wondered if you got any sense of whether people perceived that as a problem, because there's similar insurance products all over Sub-Saharan Africa, for instance, and South Asia. I think they're starting to launch some as well. So I'm just wondering, did you think clients perceived that sort of the temporariness and the sort of flightiness of this insurance product as a problem, or is it something that people didn't really care about?
All right. On the issue of public information campaigns, I would think that that is going to form, a good part of, the recommendations that would come out from this study, because what has come out abundantly clear to us in the course of this study is that there are information gaps, okay, at different points, okay, in the process. So I think providing such information would go a long way in making these mobile payment systems, okay, achieve most of their primary purposes. Fine, fraud is pervasive everywhere, but you still find variations in terms of the level, okay, as you move from place to place. And I think providing information is a big part of making sure that the levels are manageable, so to speak. So it's important to have that in view as we wrap up here.
Yeah, just quickly to add, it is part of our proposal that understanding how the strategies involved in ATM fraud and the rest of them would provide information for us to make intervention on how it can be improved, particularly from the point of view of those holding this particular card. And that is part, and in fact it's a whole sentence, part of what we submitted to IMTFI, and we intend to still do this, not only through publications in journals and blogs and the rest of them, but if you read most Nigerian newspapers, in fact, we read in the course of putting this down, we read a particular feature, somebody documenting his experience on a weekend approaching an ATM machine, and he titled the article "Automated Teller Problems." And so we also go through newspaper publications and the rest of them, because we also intend probably to send findings of these to the provider, so that at least the customers we have, they will enjoy this service, and that will build more trust in the facility that is being provided, so that we have more people on board, and then we also make it unprofitable for people who want to deviate and victimize people.
Thank you. When it comes to temporariness, okay, like the elite class, those who are aware of this microinsurance, they have embraced these other insurance companies, these policies which come with the insurance companies. And you know, most of the elite, they embrace the Safaricom product, as I said before. So like they don't trust this yuCover thing. It's like they don't like it, they don't want it. When it comes to the less privileged, or the poor, we can say, they have little awareness. And again, you know, with or without temporariness, it's like they are not aware. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you. Yep.
So part of, for me, the danger that is underlying some of the themes that came up in this panel follows nicely the previous panel's discussion of trust and social networks. And part of what I heard with something like life insurance, I mean, you take out life insurance not for yourself, but for your family members, you know, for those who will be left behind after, you know, you die. And also with ATMs, the fact that a husband or wife relationship could then become one of fraud, to me really complicates certain notions of intimacy and kinship. And so this is all to say that this panel has really made me reflect productively on who exactly is the unit that we're talking about when we say client or customer or beneficiary, which are very singular terms and you know, presuppose that there's one person we're talking about, but these categories that you're working with are not singular categories. They involve groups, and that then makes me reflect on, okay, well, in the context of poor economics, you know, IMTFI has this focus, you know, a very specific focus on poverty. Like, what are certain categories of who the presumed client is that perhaps, like, we as scholars of poor economics haven't quite shaken yet, in terms of there being a singular client, when in reality we all seem to be working to varying degrees with a group or with a kinship. I mean, maybe there needs to be a kind of overlaying of a reimagining of kinship networks or social networks, so that it's not just like secondary, where social networks aren't secondary, but are woven into the way that money is used. So I would be interested to hear from all of you on how, on what the unit, like who is the user? Should it be singular? Is it by definition networked, rather than networks being like a secondary consideration? I mean, how is it that, you know, is an ATM user and that single bank account, like, is that a single category, or should it how is it that a husband and wife taking money from a same account could be constituted as fraud?
Would you like to tackle that?
Yeah. When you approach your bank for to own their card, you fill a form, and it carries your information. You own it, and so you are the customer. That is, you are the person the bank relates with in relation to that account. What you do with your card depends on how you define the people or your network of social relations around you. For instance, in her culture, for instance, if you are with your husband in the house and you have your mobile phone, if you are leaving the parlor to your bedroom and you pick up the phone and move to the bedroom, or you have a call and then you pick your mobile phone, rather than picking it at the parlor and speaking there and then move to the bedroom, it is suspect. It brings distrust. The same way they argue that why should husband hide something from the wife? For instance, let us use this as another example, perhaps because I used that. If a son was going to school and then requested the money from the father, from the mother, and then the mother could not raise much fund and then gave him 1,000 naira. And then the father said, this money is too small. And then says, I don't have cash on me. I can take. And then withdraw 5,000 naira. And then the son got to the ATM machine and withdrew 15,000 naira. The man did not know until the following day when he got to the bank. Another issue there is that not all the card holders also subscribe to e-alert. So they don't know even if something had happened to their account, because that is also charged. So it brings another issue to it. So what you do, that is at their own level. The bank will not say, give your son. So you become the only person the bank recognizes. So if something happens to your account, the wife will not go there to lodge complaint. The person who signed that document, and it is there, if you go to the Central Bank of Nigeria website, the instruction is the card holder must sign so that you know that this is the person you are dealing with. But it raises another thing within the culture of the people about ties, bonding, those who you are expected to provide certain form of assistance to, and how that changes with how that form of relationship begins to take a new turn with technology coming in place. And they think that they can capitalize on that to defraud. So it's a kind of complex situation we have here.
Thank you. Thanks for the question. So we're going to take one last question. I think, who was first out of you two? So,
I have the mic, so.
You have the mic? You have the camera. There we go. Possession.
Yeah, I have a question for the Ugandan research team. Did the issue of gambling sounds very, very dangerous to the lives of the youth. And then if you remember the submission by Kizito that hard work is perfect. Now, I don't know whether during your data collection process you did come across instances where there have been conflicts, such as non-payments. People have won their best and they have not been paid, and it results to fighting and dragging each other to courts and so on. The question is this: does the government of Uganda have interest in the gambling? What is the state doing about it? Because I see it to be an important step to addressing the challenges, especially those confronting the youth. So does the government have interest in the gambling business? And then the other comment goes to Nigeria.
I think we just have time for one.
Oh, one, okay.
To address that.
All right.
Just one.
All right, thank you very much. All right.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Saidu. Now, asking about the government interest, yes, the government has big interest. I think in the last budget, the VAT on betting shops was revised, so there is a very strong stake that the government has. Now, the other side of it is whether it is protecting the other parties or stakeholders in this whole game, but the stakes are real high. And you see, this whole question of adopting a hands-off approach is also suspect, because you find that many of the shops are run by people who are well connected to within the system, so the stakes are high.
So we're coming up to 12:30. I'd like to thank everyone on the panel for some fascinating research and the questions from the audience. I think with that.